welcome again. If you were here just 5 minutes or so early, you heard me pop on quickly. Thank you again for everyone who's on our webinar, and welcome. Hopefully we're going to have a great kickoff to start 2013. And so if everyone's all set, we are going to get cranking. So we are talking today about kickstarting 2013. And what we're going to do together is run through a few things, and I'm just going to run through them quickly just so you know where our 60 to 90 minutes are going. So first of all, we're going to talk about what I believe is the right way to view 2013. And you know, I've always, in a way, hated New Year's Eve, or at least the way a lot of business owners have approached the new year and how they plan the year ahead. So I'm going to give it to you sort of the world according to Steve and what I think is the right way to view 2013. We are also going to talk about a step-by-step process to rock your results for 2013. We've got the whole year stretching ahead of us, and it's a gift in a lot of ways. So we can take advantage of that because we've got the whole year in the power of time. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about a world premiere that no one has ever seen before, and there are some fairly close friends of mine on this webinar, and they haven't even seen this yet. And at the end of it, we will have some time for some questions, most likely, which is great. You can either pop them on, and if you want, you can make questions as we go through, and I'll answer them at the end. So that's what we're going to do together today. So let's jump right in. And now, a lot of you know me, and so I won't spend a lot of time telling you about who Steve Wilkinghoff is, because a lot of people on this call are people that have heard me speak or read my book or that I know. And we have people here from England, Belgium, I'm seeing Australia, Canada, obviously the United States. We've got a good smattering of people on the webinar today. So basically that's me, and I'm a chartered accountant by training. I live up in Canada, and for years I had a small practice of my own dealing with small owner-managed businesses. And you know, I do have a family. I have 4 children. There's one of my daughters, another one of my daughter, my 2 little boys, and I do have a wife as well. And so this is kind of a snapshot of our family. My background, though, is as an accountant. And when I first started my practice, gosh, it's almost 20 years ago now, you know, I had in my head that I was going to be a different accountant, and I was going to go through people's financial statements with them and help describe what a profit and loss statement meant and what a balance sheet meant and all those things. And I did that, and the practice grew fairly quickly because business owners seemed to like that approach. But there was still that watershed moment for me of Mark and Tracy, when I realized the business owners in my office, Mark and Tracy, I'd gone through with them their financials, talking about the previous year and everything good like that. And they thanked me profusely. You know, they said they really liked that. They got up to leave my office, and as they were walking out, it just hit me between the eyes that, oh my gosh, you know, as good as I thought I've just done, I really haven't done anything at all that are going to help Mark and Tracy do anything differently that afternoon when they went back to their business to actually run the business better and create money. You know, I'd shown them really an algebra lesson or a math lesson. I said, well, if you tweak your revenue, increase it by a certain percentage, and you shave some points off your expenses here and there, this is how much you're going to make. And you'll see an example in a little bit on this webinar. But really, I didn't do anything that was going to help them, that was actionable. You know, I was just giving them math concepts. And it was a real shot in the stomach for me because, you know, I had prided myself on being this accountant that helped business owners, and I realized I really wasn't doing the job. So I started doing more and more one-on-one consulting, did a bunch of research, started developing my own consulting systems and processes. And that culminated about 3 years ago now. And when I say I accidentally wrote the book, Found Money, really it started as a workbook that I was going to use for a seminar I was giving. The seminar got canceled, and I just decided, you know, I've always said I'm going to write a book. I'm going to take what I thought were my best ideas and create the book, which I did, and it actually took on a life of its own. You know, a lot of business gurus of my own that I had always valued and admired, like Michael Gerber of the E-Myth. You know, in fact, Michael became such a fan of the book, and I was going to just self-publish it. He actually ended up getting me a publishing deal and wrote the foreword for the book because he feels so strongly about the message. And to this day, Michael and I talk fairly frequently, and he's the big driver behind rolling out Found Money worldwide. As well as Michael Port, you know, Think Big, Book Yourself Solid. Richard Lammer, he's a really cool guy, good marketing guy. J. Conrad Levinson. You know, since then, the book's been picked up. I've been speaking various places around the world to spread the Found Money message, and have appeared in Entrepreneur Magazine as well. So So all that is not meant just to sort of brag about me. I just want you to realize that, you know, when we talk about the found money concepts and I talk about what I say is the right way to deal with 2013, I do this day in and day out, and I've had the privilege of dealing with, you know, literally touching thousands of small business owners around the world. So I see what works and I see what doesn't work, and I think about this continually and all the time. So let's jump into it. 2013, to my way of thinking, is kind of like 12 months of glory, right? I mean, like I said earlier, you know, the year is stretching ahead of us. It's all ours, and it's like a blank sheet. We can do whatever we want with it, good or bad. So let's just assume for a minute that, and it's just an assumption, but let's look at that year ahead. And let's assume that in your business, you work 50 hours a week. As an owner, chances are it's a lot more. Maybe it's less. I have met some business owners that work a lot less than that, and I've met some that work a lot more. The goal is always to work less, of course, and make more money. Let's assume you work 50 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, and that you make a paltry 5 decisions a day. So, you know, just doing the straight math, and I am going somewhere with this, so just hold on tight if you don't like my algebra or my math, but, you know, that means that you're actually making 1,200 decisions or more than 1,200 decisions over the course of 2013. And every one of those decisions is going to have an impact on your business and your financial results. So this is a huge framework, and this is why it's so important to think about 2013 as being nothing but a chain of decisions. And between now and December 31st, you're going to be making all sorts of decisions. So what are those decisions? Well, the big thing is, if you think of 1,200 decisions, and realistically it's probably more than 5 a day, so it's a higher number than 1,200, but let's just go with that. Think about what impact could those decisions have on your financial results. And it's massive. If every single one of those decisions creates money or costs you money depending on how you decide, you can see very quickly that you could really, really, really dramatically impact your financial results for 2013. Conversely, and this is kind of like a double negative, but what impact could they not have? Right? So every time you look at making a decision in your business, 2 things you have to realize. One, we have to realize what happens if we make a good decision and to make a proper decision, and by that I mean something that ties into our financial goals and takes the business in a direction that serves our dream lifestyle. So what could happen if we made a good decision? The flip side of that is, what could happen if we don't make a decision? Because not making a decision really is just letting a default happen. And we'll talk a little bit more about default and knee-jerk reactions later on. But that's like making a decision or just letting someone else take control of it, and it's giving up financial control of your business. And so really we've got this chain of decisions to make ahead of us in 2013, and that's how we're going to make money that we really want to make. So remember, 1,200 decisions. And what are those decisions? You know, if I took a quick poll now, and I've done this in other webinars, we won't do it on this one because of the number of people here, but people will tell me things like, well, the decisions I make in my business revolve around hiring people and, you know, advertising and marketing decisions, and do I increase my staff wages, and how do I compensate my staff, and do I buy a new location, or do I buy a new piece of equipment, and or do I get a new bank loan so I can expand, and what do I pay myself, and all those things. And I hear them all the time, and so I know this is how a lot of business owners think. The problem, however, is really that's not what the decisions in your business truly revolve around. Those are kind of like the macro part of it. But what your decisions really, really, really revolve around are your customers or your clients, if you're a professional services business, your products and your services, and your activities. Now just take a moment and think about any decision you make in your business, or any decision that you know you should make, but you've been procrastinating on or neglecting it or not making that decision. And it will fall into one of these 3 categories. Marketing and advertising, well, it touches the customer side of things, obviously. It also touches the products and services, and even the activities. It's how we go about doing that. hiring more team members or laying team members off. Again, are driven by how many customers do we have, how many do we think we're going to get, how long does it take us to deliver our products and services, what activities do we need our staff to do or our team members to do. So anything in your business, any single decision is in one of these three categories or a combination of these three categories. And again, this is that Mark and Tracy moment I talked about at the beginning. This is what I realized I had to give to Mark and Tracy. Right? The financial perspective of the business of revenue and expenses is simply the end result of these three things. So if you want to drive your financial result and you want to change a financial result, this is where you have to make decisions, because this is where you actually create it. So let's step back for a minute and look at an example of how not to think about 2013. So suppose now we just finished 2012. And now, if you're like a lot of business owners, you don't even really know what you made in 2012 yet, because you have to take it to the accountant and see what happens. And you know, don't get me on my soapbox there, because you should know what your financial results are week by week and month by month. And there's ways of doing that that don't involve waiting for it to hit a financial statement or a profit and loss and a balance sheet. But just assume for a minute that 2012 gave you 65,000 net earnings, and it broke down as this. I just made these numbers up. You know, revenue was 250,000. Your direct costs of producing those sales were 100,000. That left us with a nice gross profit of 150. We had overhead of 85, and voila, we had net earnings of $65,000. Now, whether that is your number or not, or your number's a lot bigger or a lot smaller, doesn't matter, because this is just an example. So here's how not to think about 2013, and here's unfortunately how most business owners do it. So they ask, well, that was 2012. What's 2013 going to be? And they look at themselves and kind of scrunch their face up and they scratch their head, and it's like, well, you know, maybe we can increase revenue by 5%. And if I get really hard with my suppliers and maybe manage the overtime of my team and do a few other things, I can reduce direct cost by 2%. Maybe I can shave my overhead by 3%. You know, I'll pay for less mileage, whatever it is. This tends to be, as business owners, how we think about next year, right? This is 2012, and I'm just going to play with these little increments and bump revenue and drop cost and shave this and shave that. And at the end of it, look what I'm going to make. Wow, 2013 is going to be a great year, way better than 2012, because the math I just did means revenue is going to go from 250,000 to 262,500. Direct costs are going to actually drop because I shaved them by that 3%. And then my overhead I dropped by a few percent as well, so it's going to go down. So at the end of it, on paper, I'm going to make $82,050. And the problem is, this is not at all useful as far as creating a financial result. But as business owners, we tend to be trapped into doing this exact thought process, because really, in a lot of cases, there's no other mechanism that we've learned. Right? So we look at a financial statement, we look at a profit and loss, we look at a balance sheet, and that's all we can do. That's all we can go with. And we're left and reduced to doing this. The problem is, this doesn't do a single thing to tell us how to create that result. Right? Increasing revenue by 2% or 3% or 5% is just math. It's that Mark and Tracy moment again. This is exactly what I showed Mark and Tracy, that at the time they were delighted by, and at the time they said, thank you so much, we wish we had known this several years ago, and impressed them. But when it really came down to it and they walked out of my office, Mark and Tracy had no idea how they were going to take revenue from 250 to 262,500. Well, they kind of had a hunch, well, maybe we'll get more customers or more clients, we can try some more marketing, but really no clear line of sight from here, the 250, to there, the 262.5. So what's wrong with thinking about it that way? Well, I kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, and I told you that, you know, we can't create that number. That's just mathematics. Because the problem really is, revenue, guess what, isn't revenue. And direct costs aren't direct costs, and overhead isn't overhead. And you know, sometimes when I get together with my accountant friends, they'll tease me a little bit because they think I have this non-accountant mind, which I, by the way, take as a compliment. But really, as a business owner, you've got to get out of your mind that revenue revenue isn't revenue, what you would traditionally call it on your profit and loss. And direct costs aren't what accountants call direct costs, and overhead isn't what overhead or what accountants call overhead. What all of those things really are is what? Well, now I'm totally puzzled. If revenue is not revenue, direct costs aren't direct costs, overhead isn't overhead, Steve, I'm stumped. So what is the answer? Well, revenue, direct cost, and overhead, in other words, the amount of money your business makes for you, your net earnings, are created by, voila, does that look familiar? Your customers, your products and services, and your activities. So remember a few minutes ago when I talked about those theoretical 1,200 decisions we're going to make between now and the end of 2013? Well, every single one of them related to what? One or more of these three things: your customers, your products and services, and your activities. So because of that, let's just step it back one little level. Therefore, those 1,200 decisions, every single one of them affects one of these things. Therefore, every single one of them affects your financial result, either good or bad. Now, we can do something with this. We start to deconstruct revenue and direct costs and overhead into customers and products and services and activities. We can get our hands around that. Right? That's visceral. We can feel that in our business. We can see it. We can measure it week by week, day by day in a lot of cases. So here's the wrong way I'll summarize it to approach 2013, right? We'll go out, this is the wrong way now, right? So I'm going to tell you how we're not going to do this anymore. So we're not going to go and just try to get some customers and sell them some products and services and maybe do some activities to put those all together. And then we throw it on the wall, so to speak, to see what sticks. And at the end of the month or end of the quarter or end of the year, we say, what are the financial results we got? Now, that's not the way we're going to do in 2013. How are we going to do it in 2013? What's the right way? Well, the right way is start with your dream lifestyle. And if anyone has read the book, heard me speak, talked to me at all, dream lifestyle is, I mean, that's what, it's a broken record thing to me. I will talk about dream lifestyle till the cows come home with any single business owner, because it's so important. Because as a business owner, your business needs to be the vehicle that helps you live your dream lifestyle. So if you have a business that makes you, I don't know, pick a number, $200,000 in income a year, but it forces you to literally sell your soul to it, where you're working 100 hours a week or 90 hours a week. You don't have any time to take off and vacation and relax and recharge. You don't have any time to devote to your own health and fitness or your own personal development. Right? That's not a dream lifestyle. That's not sustainable, because no one wants to work like that. That's soul destroying, and it grinds you down, and you need to define right away, what is the dream lifestyle? I don't care if you are working 90 hours a week right now. What should it be? What does your dream lifestyle look like? And once you've defined that, and we'll talk more about the elements that go into that in a bit, then you can determine what financial result does my business need to give me. Right? Suppose my dream lifestyle includes me working only 3 days a week and making $200,000 a year or $300,000 a year or $1 million a year, whatever it is. Combining the things I want to do with the time I'm not in the business, with the things I want to do when I'm away from it, and how much money that's going to require, is going to give me a number, a single number, which therefore is the financial result your business needs to start creating for you. And then we start moving towards it by saying, well, let's look at all the activities, the products and services, and the customers, and the ways I can combine them within my business. Right? What can I do with all of these? These are like building blocks. Your customers, products, services, and activities, those decisions are building blocks. And you can create a specific financial result in almost an unlimited number of ways. You can get more customers, you can sell more to existing customers, you can get customers to come more often, you can streamline your activities, you can tweak your team and make it more efficient and increase how much people buy every time. I mean, on and on and on. And so now we're getting creative, because now we've defined the financial result for 2013. Now you can crank on it and look at the way to get there. And once you've identified that way, those three things and all the decisions and all the building blocks, now you can pick the business model that is best for you. Right? That means the one that's going to be create or use the customers and the products and services and the activities that are relevant to you, because not every business is the same. Even if they get the same financial results, they're just like individuals. They're completely different. That tells you what your business model has to be, and now you can go to work making 2013 serve that business model and move toward that business model so you're going to get the result you want. So when you think about creating financial results in your business, because it started there, right? I got to create the dream lifestyle, and then I got to get a financial result. So defining dream lifestyle, take a piece of paper, write out what you need to do to live your dream lifestyle. And we'll talk about that in a bit more when we go through one of the slides. But how do you create the financial results in any business, good or bad? Well, there's two keys to it, right? The first key is disaggregation, and the second key is quick failing. If you nail those two things, if you, out of anything else out of today's webinar, if you burn into your mind disaggregation and quick failing, you will make 2013 better than any other year you've had. So what do I mean by disaggregation? Well, think about it for a minute. Revenue, remember I talked about revenue and direct costs and overhead. Well, revenue is really just a mix of your customers or clients and your products and how often they buy from you. That is revenue. Right, so if you want to change revenue in your business, you need to disaggregate revenue and drill into your business and say, how many clients or how many customers do I need? And how many products or what kind of products or how am I going to price those so that they buy them, and how often are they going to buy it? And those three things create your revenue. And direct costs, again, it's not something you look at on paper on a profit and loss statement. Direct costs are created by your products and your team and the activities that go on in your business. Those are the only things that can create direct costs. Any expense in your business that's a direct cost, in other words, directly related to the revenue, generated by one of those things. Has to be. I mean, I can add customers as well to there, but I couldn't because I'm not a wizard enough with Microsoft PowerPoint, so I couldn't get the fourth ball in there. So, but there should probably be customers in there as well. And disaggregating at the overhead level, again, overhead, just something on paper. What it is, it's the processes in your business, and it's your team and the activities. That's what combines to make overhead. So if you want to reduce overhead, you can't just really do a good job of it by just slashing a number or deciding to slash a number. What you have to do to have a sustainable business that's money-making and gives you a 2013 like you really, really want is to look inward and say, well, based on my team and the processes I'm doing right now and the activities I'm doing right now, where can I make changes to reduce the overhead? And that's a really important distinction. So I'll say that again. You can't focus on reducing overhead because that you're not going to succeed doing it that way. What you need to do is examine your team, the processes that they undertake in the business, and the activities that they do, and what goes on in your business. And that's where you're going to identify things that you can change, things in the system that you can change that are going to have an impact on reducing your overhead. And that's huge. So the second key, remember the first key was disaggregating, which is just what I showed. So never again, please, never again, when you look at your profit and loss statement, when you sit down with your accountant at the year end, it doesn't matter when you sit down with your friends, business friends, it doesn't matter. Please never think that revenue is only revenue. And please never think that direct costs are only direct costs. And please never think that overhead is only overhead. Right? So from now on, disaggregation is your mantra. Chant it. Wake up every morning. Go to your business, and on the drive there, chant to yourself, disaggregate, disaggregate, disaggregate. And you will be amazed at the patterns you start to see in your business. When everything you look at, when you write a check at the end of the month, when you sign a check that your bookkeeper's prepared for you to pay one of your suppliers, stop yourself and think, disaggregation. What's really going on? What does this check, what does this invoice represent? What are the processes? What about the team? What about the activities? When you go to make a bank deposit, or you get your bank statement, or the credit card settlement statement, whatever it is, and you look at what went into your bank, don't just look at that number. Ask yourself, disaggregate, disaggregate. Okay, this number, How many customers was that? What did they buy? How often have they bought? How often will they buy? And you will be amazed at what you start to uncover in your business and the way it will change your thinking. It's essentially moving to a systems thinking, but systems thinking is such an engineering kind of term, and it's so dry and kind of fuddy-duddy in a lot of ways that disaggregation is just much more fun and much more organic and visceral. So the second key to creating financial results you want is quick failing. So why is quick failing important? Well, we just finished talking about disaggregating, and as soon as you disaggregate, you're now looking at the building blocks that go into the revenue and your direct cost and your overhead. And now you're going to start making decisions to either improve some things like revenue, decrease some things like your direct cost or your overhead. And you're going to come up with all sorts of ideas. The problem is you don't really know what works until you try it, right? You can, on paper, you can look at things and say, oh, well, okay, if I cut my team's hours a little bit and streamline their processes, it's going to save me money, overhead's going to drop, or direct costs are going to drop. The reality is you don't really know what effect it's going to have until you try it. And this is why it follows on disaggregation. And you can't do quick failing until you've at least first done disaggregation. Because if you're going to try things and you don't disaggregate, when's the first time you're going to find out if it worked or not? When you see it on a profit and loss statement, or when you see it on a balance sheet, which is at least 1 month after it's already happened, and or even could be a quarter, depends how fast you get your financial information prepared. But at any rate, by the time you see it on a profit and loss or a balance sheet, it is a historical fact. You cannot go back to last month and change anything once it hits a profit and loss. What you can change are the components and the building blocks that are going to create next month's financial result. And the way to do that is quick failing. Because here's an example. If you know what you have to target, so remember we disaggregated and we came up with some things. So suppose I right now have 1,000 customers and they buy once every 2 years or 0.5 a year, and I make $350 every time they buy from me. So my business makes $175,000 gross profit, and I want to move it over the next 3 years forward. So 2013, year one, I set the target of increasing customers to 1,075 and frequency up a little bit and gross profit up a little bit. Now, this is the first step in disaggregation. I can start to deal with that. I know I have a specific number of customers I need and a specific frequency that I'm targeting and a specific average gross profit per transaction. And guess what? I can figure those things out weekly, monthly, daily in a lot of cases. And I don't have to wait till it shows up on my profit and loss statement anymore. I know now if I'm on target to hit my financial results. So what happens then? Well, if my gross profit per transaction is $350 right now, I'm going to test something, right? I want to improve it, so I have to change something. And so I'm going to take a guess with me and my team, a reasoned guess, and come up with something, well, this is what we are going to do. Every client that comes in, we're going to talk to them slightly differently or try a change in our sales script, or we're going to offer them something, a point of sale or something to increase the transaction. We're going to try something. And guess what? If it's an improvement, and whatever we tried and whatever we tested now makes the average transaction value greater than 350, whatever we tried is now the new standard. That's how everyone in the business does it every time. And then we keep cycling back and forth. So if that improvement took it from 350 to 355, we're not done. I mean, great. We're making more money and we're moving the right way, but we've got to test again. And now we're testing it against that new standard, which in this example is 355, and if a new standard higher, or the new test makes it higher yet, that's the new standard, and we cycle through over and over. Now, what happens if we try something and it doesn't give a good result as our new standard? Suppose we're at a gross profit of 350 and we try something and it actually goes down. Not a problem. We just discard it, go back to what we were doing, and test something new. And here's the amazing thing. Testing, when you rely on figuring out if it works based on your financial statements, is so risky because you have to wait so long to figure out if it worked. when we're dealing at this level and we're doing quick failing tactics using disaggregation like we are here, and in this example we're focused on the net profit per transaction, like we can try something this morning and we know within a day if it works or within a week if it works. So we don't have to wait. We don't have to try and hold on to something and find out if it loses money and is worse than what we were doing until it's too late. We can move that fast. And because we can move that fast, we can move forward that much faster. Because the quicker you make mistakes, the quicker you figure out the things that work, and the quicker you discard the ones that don't, the faster you move forward. Right? And again, same example, frequency, it's at 0.5. We want to try to bump it up. Again, we keep cycle testing, and if something doesn't happen, we just punt it out and go back to the other one. Right? So just that's quick failing. So let's talk a bit about just where we've got, so where we've arrived at. So how we're not going to do 2013 anymore is we're not going to look at our financial statement from 2012, and we are not going to mathematically increase or decrease it. No. That's the first thing you need to promise yourself and promise me. I'm going to assume you're promising and you're nodding even though I can't see you, so you're committed now. And what you are going to do is step back and say, what is the financial result I really want in 2013? What's the financial result that's going to move me towards my dream lifestyle? And then you're going to take a look at, using the tools of disaggregation, what does that mean for the customers and my products and services and the activities that go on in my business? And how can I reassemble those, and how can I make changes in them to create that financial result that I need to serve my dream lifestyle and make 2013 rock my socks? And then you're going to take, once you've established that target, now you can use the principles of quick failing to test, always, always, always high velocity testing. The faster you test, the better you go, and the faster you move forward, and you're going to move your business forward to your target in 2013. Now, having said all of that, I understand it's really easy to say, it's a little bit harder to do, or a lot harder to do in some cases. I mean, I do this day in and day out with hundreds of business owners, so it's kind of easy for me. But for an individual business owner, might sound like it's easy to talk about, but what does that really mean in your business? When this webinar is over and you go back to your office this afternoon, or you go back to your regular business this afternoon, what does it mean? Well, the problem is you need to create a process and a structure for you to allow this to happen, and to allow it to happen with your team. That's what it's all about. It's systems. So what we're going to do is, create the financial result, define the financial result, look at the combination, disaggregation, and quick failing. We need a system around that. So what's the system you can use? Well, there's 5 things you can do, or 5 steps. This is a proven process done time and time again in hundreds of businesses. I'm just going to take a quick drink, so bear with me for 1 second. And this works. I don't care what kind of business you are. I don't care if you're a software company. I don't care if you're a life insurance company. I don't care if you're a consulting firm, law firm, accounting firm, gym owner, whatever you are, I can guarantee you this system works. So the first step, set your financial goal. We talked about that already. That's step number 1. You need to define what 2013 needs to do to rock your socks off. Number 2, disaggregate. Number 3, exercise your business. And then number 4, track your results. Remember, that's that quick failing, so you know where you're going, and changing your course, part of quick failing as well. So what does each of those steps mean to you? Well, set your financial goal. Again, don't just set a small financial goal for 2013. Right? Don't just try to set it so, well, I'm going to maybe increase revenue 5 or 10%. Nah, no more. Make 2013 a mind-blowing experience for you. And what is the financial result that will make 2013 that mind-blowing experience for you? So that's a great question. The problem is you can't answer that question unless you know 5 things, right? So really, at the end of the day, it's all about your dream lifestyle. And dream lifestyle is something that involves 5 different things. It's the work that you do in your business. What do you love to do? What do you don't want to do? What do you absolutely not want to do anymore in 2013 in your business? And what's the stuff you really love? define that, and you're starting to move towards defining your dream lifestyle and therefore the financial results that will rock your socks off. And when you want to do that work, mornings, afternoons, 3 days a week, whenever, and then define the money your business has to create so that you can work doing the work that you want to do, and that you don't have to do the work that you don't want to do, and that you can work when you want. And then also the time. What are you going to do with the time you're not in your business and the activities? You define all these things. That gives you a good, clear, honest picture of what your dream lifestyle needs to be. And once you've got that figured out, now you can define the financial result that 2013 has to create for you to rock your socks. And then step 2, so now remember that in that cycle I drew? Step 1 was define the financial result you really, 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 really want. Now you got to disaggregate. And so remember, revenue isn't revenue, direct costs aren't direct costs, and overhead isn't overhead. What are you going to do starting this afternoon, as soon as this webinar is over? You're always going to think disaggregation, right? Just a snapshot again to drill it into your head. Revenue is your clients, your products, and how often they buy. Your direct costs are a combination of your products, your team, and the activities that you do. And your overhead is a combination of the processes that go on, what your team does to deliver those processes, and the activities that are part of the process that your team carries out. All right, so remember, this is the right way. Disaggregation does what? It finally gives you a snapshot of what has to happen to your customers, how many of them you have, how often they buy your products and services, how do you have to deal with those to give you a certain gross profit per transaction, and the activities that combine in your business. Right there. That's what disaggregation gives you. That's what gives you the ability to drive your financial results. And then number 3, this is huge. Right? This is a new era in my thinking, is exercise your business. I've worked with a lot of business owners, and what I find is this has to be consistent. You have to work so hard to make sure that you've got the right habits, and you build the habits into your business, and you build a discipline to look at the right things and to continually disaggregate and essentially build your money-making muscle in your business. It's like any other muscle. The more you work it, the bigger and stronger it becomes. And this is huge. So whatever you do, think disaggregation. Don't just think about it this afternoon. Don't just think about it tomorrow. Think about it always. That's the habit. Ask yourself every week. Talk about it in your team meetings or your staff meetings every week or every month. Throw it on the table and say to your team, look, let's talk disaggregation. What's going on here? We have a challenge in this certain area of our business. Let's disaggregate it and see what happens. And make it a habit and make it a discipline. Drive it into your business at every level, and you'll be amazed what starts to happen. Because what you have to avoid, and this is the tendency every business owner has, anytime you come to a webinar, every time you do a seminar, anytime you listen or learn a new concept, we think, oh, that's great, I want to start applying that. So Steve's webinar, he talked about disaggregation. I'm going to go start thinking that way. Great, I'm all over it. Well, what you need to avoid are knee-jerk reactions. And you have to avoid conditioned responses and broken record thinking. Right? Because all 3 of those things let bad habits control your financial results and your future. So what do I mean by knee-jerk reactions? Well, again, it gets back to that exercising your business and building that discipline and the habit. Let's say next week someone comes in your business and, I don't know, your team member quits. Let's use an example. You have a sales organization and your number 1 salesperson quits, and you panic and you start to think, oh my goodness, now I have to replace this person, so I better start marketing like crazy to build up the lead count so I can get more salespeople in here and train them with a higher volume of leads, and on and on and on. Knee-jerk reaction. Take a deep breath, sit down, disaggregate, and figure out what really has to happen in your business rather than just running out in a freakish manner and starting to spend money on a knee-jerk reaction. Conditioned responses as well. Suppose that every February you run a newspaper ad and you spend several $1,000s running a series of newspaper ads. Nothing wrong with a newspaper ad, but don't do it this February of 2013 because we're doing 2013 differently now, right? Don't do it just because you've always done it this way. That's not the right way to succeed. Conditioned responses are habits on the other side, the bad habits, even if they give us a decent result. A bad habit is something, well, we just do. Newspaper rep comes in every February because I've always bought in February, and I say yes. No, disaggregate, figure out what you want to accomplish with that newspaper advertising, what you want it to do for your customers, either getting existing ones to come by more often or getting new customers, or what you want to sell to them. Right? Disaggregate. You'll be amazed at what happens. And broken record thinking. Right? Well, that won't work for me. It might work for that kind of business, but it won't work for me. This is how we do it. This is how we've always done it. This is how we're going to do it again. That's broken record thinking. And those things will kill you from a financial perspective. And I don't mean necessarily make your business crater or go out of business, although that can happen if you do these things. But more likely, you're going to find yourself at the end of 2013 marginally better or marginally worse than 2012, which is exactly the same as it was in 2011, which was actually the same as it was in 2010. And you're going to walk like a zombie through the rest of your business life, creating financial results that are just good enough. And you deserve so much better than just good enough when you own your own business, because it's really that easy. If you know some of these things and you apply some of these things and do the self-discipline, you will be amazed at what you can do. Number 4, track your results. There's 3 things you want to track. 1, your progress toward your results. Right? This is where I want to get to in 2013. Remember that example, and then disaggregating and quick failing? As well as I want to track the timing. Right? It's a quarter of the way through 2013. Am I on target to hit where I want to get by the end of 2013? And also expectations. So what are the expectations that I have and from doing the things I want to do, from doing the quick failing? So how will I know if I'm on target or if I'm not on target? And then the 5th step, change course when needed. Right? This is the heart of quick failing. You do something, is it working, is it not working, is it moving me closer or further to where I want to get to? And you admit it. Hey, there's no such thing as a bad mistake if you know it fast enough. If you know something's not working fast enough and you can make a change, there is nothing wrong with that experiment. The only thing wrong with an experiment is if it's not working or it's worse or giving you a worse result and you don't need it or you don't find out about it until it's too late. That's really what makes most business owners scared of making mistakes. It's not the mistake per se. It's the fact that they're scared about not knowing it until it's too late, or they realize after the fact that it was actually a really expensive mistake. And quick failing lets you figure that out and lets you change course when needed. And also arrows in your quiver, right? If you're going to do quick failing, you have to have some ability to come up with creative ideas to try new things. That can be you. It can be from reading books, reading magazines. It could be involving your team, right? But you need to be able to try different things for quick failing. If you believe quick failing, but you're not creative enough to come up with any new ideas, quick failing doesn't really work. So again, you need arrows in your quiver, whether it's reading, whether it's talking to other business owners, networking through chambers of commerce, using your team. You'll be amazed at what your team can do for you when they come up with ideas. So that's kind of it. I just want to tell you about this really quick offer. It's we're launching the Found Money membership website, which is brand new, and it's kind of modeled over some of the stuff that you were talking about. Here's just a couple shots of it. You know, you come in there. This is what's in there, and you'll find there's really essentially at the heart of it, it's group coaching with me. So what up to now has been done one-on-one coaching with business owners around the world. You now get monthly live group coaching and tutorial calls. You get the monthly Profit Pitbull newsletter, a huge video training archive of Found Money tools and strategies, the resource library, an audio archive, and something I'm particularly proud of is these weekly workouts. We talked about habits and building discipline. So there's weekly workouts in there. So every week you can print something out. It's 5 or 6 pages and it has exercises. You sit down with your team and your business and you look at it and deal with a particular issue. And then there's also always continually adding to it. So really you're on the cutting edge of thought leadership when it comes to creating the financial results you want in your business. So there's a screenshot of what the Profit Pitbull newsletter looks like. You know, here's some of the things that are in the audio archives. There's interviews with Michael Port, J. Conrad Levinson, video training archives. This is just a screenshot. You know, there's hours of video training in there that you can look at whenever you want, either to come up, you know, to learn more about a particular found money concept, or to learn about found money concepts in general. Resource library, again, a screenshot, but there's endless workbooks and materials in there that you can read and that you can work on your business, everything from customer profitability mapping to product profitability analysis. A real toolkit essentially is what it is for the business owner. Here's an example of the weekly workouts. You just download it. There's one, and there's one for every week of the year. So you can pick topics, either run them through an order or pick and choose, whatever. But the big thing is it's something turnkey for you, where every week you can print it out, give it to your team ahead of time, and you sit down and you spend a half hour, an hour, or maybe 2 hours tops dealing with that, and you'll be amazed at how turned on your team gets and the results you get as you start to build that habit. Now, when it launches, rolls out to the world, it's going to be $97 a month. It is guaranteed. You can cancel at any time. So if a person becomes a member and then doesn't like it within 90 days or within 3 months, they get a full refund of those 90 days, even though you've gotten the coaching and you've gotten the newsletters and everything. We're not concerned about cancellation, so we're willing to give you this nice, generous guarantee. And we're now offering charter member offers because we're launching it today, really. It's going live now. It went live while we're on this webinar. So basically, instead of the $97 a month, if you sign up now, it's $49 a month for as long as you want to remain a member. So if you sign up and you're a Found Money member for the next 25 years, you pay $49 a month for the next 29 years. And it's just our kind of gift we want to give to people that A, are committed to Found Money concepts, and B, are committed to instilling the discipline and the habit in their business to create the financial results they want, and are willing to become our charter members. And again, it's all about this proven process, those 5 steps, right? So really, there's 5 of them. Our big focus is right here. That's a big part of what the Found Money membership site does for you. Also helping you change course where needed. Dream lifestyle, there are resources in there. You can define that. Tracking results, again, there are resources in there as well. So if you are interested, it's low-key sales pitch. There's the website for it. I'm not one of these guys that says, oh, it's only open for the next hour or two. It's not going to be open forever, because that website, that link there takes you to the charter member offer. And so, who knows? It might be up for a day or two. It might be up for a week until we're confident, until we're happy that we've got enough charter members, and then it'll revert to the regular price of $97 a month. So that's it for the webinar.